down. It's a beautiful day I found.
Welcome to another episode of Capital Cannabis, where we the people demand that cannabis be exempted from the DEA's Controlled Substances Act and all criminal and civil penalties, both federal, state, and local, be repealed and nullified. We say make it lawful, don't make it legal. Now, currently, 33 states recognize various forms of medical cannabis legalization, including New York. However, here you can't smoke or grow your own bud. Recreational cannabis is legal in 11 states as well, but New York is not one of them. New York has enacted decriminalization of up to a fine of up to $200 for up to 55 grams of weed, just under 2 ounces for personal possession, but you still can't grow your own bud or make your own edibles, your oils, your tonics, anything. You can't even have it in your more than 10 bags, or you have the potential to be charged with distribution. You can't have it in your house with the kids either, or you can't do something that's considered illegal because then that also will become another criminal charge. There's also a lot of talk recently about the new MORE Act that has been passed through the House Judiciary Committee. There's many anti-legalization organizations such as Smart Approaches to Marijuana who are predicting that it is considered dead on arrival by the Senate. The MORE Act is asking for the removal of cannabis from the DEA's Controlled Substances Act, which we fully agree with, but it's setting a 5% federal tax and leaving everything else, including legalization and regulation, up to the states. The constitutional argument against federal taxation can be grouped into 2 general categories. The first is comprised of the challenges of the right of the government to regulate the use of cannabis at all. The constitutional basis for such a challenge could include, but are not limited to, fundamental peripheral rights, the right to privacy, substantive due process, including but not limited to the First Amendment. The second general category argues against the manner in which cannabis is controlled and the severity of penalties associated with these laws under this category. Equal protection and due process arguments can be raised in regard to the classification of cannabis. In this category, we can also include arguments under the 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 9th, and 10th Amendments, freedom of religion, the right to privacy, fundamental personal rights, substantive due process, as well as state interest versus fundamental constitutional rights should all be considered in this process. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 4, and Article 1 and Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution relate that when these 2 provisions read together set up a specific limitation upon the exercise of the power to tax, to wit, to direct taxes, and capitation taxes must be allocated among the states in proportion to the population as determined by census. So, when it comes to legalization, how does a bill become a law? Well, you're about to find out.
As your body grows bigger,
Your mind must flower,
it's great to learn.
'cause knowledge is power.
It's Schoolhouse Rocky, the chip off the block of your favorite Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a bill.
Woo, you sure gotta climb a lot of steps to get to this Capitol building here in Washington. Well, I wonder who that sad little scrap of paper is.
I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Well, it's a long, long journey to the capital city. It's a long, long wait while I'm sitting in committee, but I know I'll be a law someday. At least I hope and pray that I will, but today I am still just a bill.
Gee, Bill, you certainly have a lot of patience and courage.
Well, I got this far. When I started, I wasn't even a bill. I was just an idea. Some folks back home decided they wanted a law passed, so they called their local congressman, and he said, "You're right, there ought to be a law." Then he sat down and wrote me out and introduced me to Congress, and I became a bill. And I'll remain a bill until they decide to make me a law. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I got as far as Capitol Hill. Well, now I'm stuck in committee, and I'll sit here and wait while a few key congressmen discuss and debate whether they should let me be a law. I hope and pray that they will, but today I am still just a bill.
Listen to those congressmen arguing. Is all that discussion and debate about you?
Yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones. Most bills never even get this far. I hope they decide to report on me favorably, otherwise I may die.
Die?
Yeah, die in committee. Oh, but it looks like I'm gonna live. Now I go to the House of Representatives and they vote on me.
If they vote yes, what happens?
Then I go to the Senate and the whole thing starts all over again.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And if they vote for me on Capitol Hill, well, then I'm off to the White House where I'll wait in a line with a lot of other bills for the president to sign. And if he signs me, then I'll be a law. How I hope and pray that he will. But today I am still just a bill.
You mean even if the whole Congress says you should be a law, the president can still say no?
Yes, that's called a veto. If the president vetoes me, I have to go back to Congress and they vote on me again, and by that time you're so
By
old.
that time, it's very unlikely that you become a law. It's not easy to become a law, is it?
No, but how I hope and pray that I will. But today I am still just a bill.
He signed your bill. Now you're a law.
Oh, yes.
Now that we know how a bill becomes a federal law, state law is very similar, where someone comes up with an idea, an assemblyman or senator sponsors it, and then eventually the Senate and Assembly vote on it before the governor approves it and signs it into law, or doesn't. So I think that it is really fair to say that all laws are actually just words written on paper, enacted by some people who think that they have the moral authority to decide on and to dictate how, what, when, or where we can do something. That's why we say make it lawful, not make it legal, lawful being the substance of law, while legal is just the form of law. Meanwhile, these fat cat politicians are raking in big money tax bucks, and the New York Medical Industry Cannabis Association is laughing all the way to the bank. While 921 people during the first quarter and another 692 people went through the ever-spinning revolving prison door system in the first and second quarter in New York City alone. So how's that for legalization and or decriminalization, ending the war on drugs, ending the war on weed, and keeping us out of jail? With all this talk about, they're going to, remove our penalties that we can apply and get relief, and things removed off of our records and stuff like that. No, not for selling, transporting, possessing, or distributing cannabis. So obviously no one should go to jail for a plant, no matter what form it's in, whether it's the plant, a concentrate like oils, tonics, or edibles, even clothing. It doesn't matter what form the cannabis is in, because no one should ever go to jail for it. So if you're ever called as a jurist on a cannabis trial, I recommend that you vote not guilty, even if the person on trial even if they admitted to consuming, trading, selling, distributing, transporting, or manufacturing cannabis. Vote not guilty. As a juror, you have this power under the Bill of Rights. Yes, sirree. I keep telling you, your trusty, dusty old Constitution. You need to take it out and read it, dust it off. So, what is jury nullification? Well, let me let you know. It's when a jury or jurist knowingly and deliberately, the intentional rejection of evidence presented against the accused or the refusal to apply the law, either because the jury wants to send a message about a social issue that is larger than the case itself, or because the result or punishment doesn't fit the crime that's dictated, the punishment dictated by law is contrary to the jurist's sense of morality, justice, conscience, fairness. When you're a juror, the judge will tell you to leave your conscience at the door, but that's not the case. Your conscience is supposed to be the deciding factor. This is like when the punishment doesn't fit the crime or the law itself is unethical or unconstitutional. Because as we've just seen, anything can be turned into law, but it's up to us to show that if a particular law is unconstitutional, it's up to us to fight to have it repealed. In Les Miserables, Victor Hugo, he highlighted the difference between justice and the law. The jury's responsibility is to deliver justice, not to uphold the law. Juries were first introduced in England to protect people from the tyranny of the government. The very first case nullified was that of William Penn and William Mead. Yes, William Penn, the founder of Pennsylvania. They had been charged with unlawful assembly for preaching in 1670, and the judge refused to accept any other verdict other than guilty from the jury. So he ordered that the jurors return to deliberation without food or drink until they came back with a guilty verdict. When the jurors refused to convict the dynamic duo, they were fined and put in prison until their fines were paid. So this was appealed, and on appeal, the Court of Common Pleas ordered that the jurors be released, declaring that the jurists could not be punished for their verdicts. Jury nullification was introduced in North America in 1735, long before we broke England's stranglehold and decades before we became the good old US of A. Peter Zingle had truthfully criticized Governor William Crosby of New York in his publication called the New York Weekly Journal, and Zingle was charged with violating the seditious libel law, which prohibited criticisms of the king or the appointed officers and held that true statements could be libelous. However, libel is actually an untrue written statement where slander is spoken. So if you write a lie about someone, you say a lie about someone, you can be charged with libel or slander. But his lawyer, Andrew Hamilton, argued that the law was outdated and that a lie is the main thing that makes a libel. So it took the jury only a few minutes to find Zingle not guilty, and the truth has really been a defense in a libel case happily ever after. So since then, and after the Great Rebellion, several state constitutions, including the Georgia Constitution of 1777 and the Pennsylvania Constitution, Pennsylvania, William Mead, Constitution of 1790, specifically provided that the jury shall be the judge of the law as well as the facts. Judges in Maryland, Indiana, New Hampshire, they're required by law to inform the jury of its right for nullification. We've seen this in the trial of Doug Darrell, a Rastafarian who was vindicated of felony charges in New Hampshire for growing marijuana. Darrell's lawyer acknowledged that the judge's decision to instruct the jury about nullification was key to the victory. Judge James O'Neill told the jurors that even if you find the state has proven each and every element of the offense charged beyond a reasonable doubt, you may still find the defendant not guilty if you have a conscientious feeling that the not guilty verdict would be a fair result of this case. And yes, Doug Darrell, he was acquitted. He was found not guilty. In most states, including New York and New Jersey, jury nullification is a discretionary act. It's not legally sanctioned function of the jury. Usually, the judge does not have the jury does not have a right to nullification, and the lawyers are not permitted to present the idea of a jury nullification to the jury. However, you can still vote not guilty. Jury verdicts of acquittal, of not guilty, are unassailable, even when the verdict is inconsistent with the weight of the evidence in the instruction of the law, and you as a jurist cannot be punished for your not guilty verdict. Over the years, jury nullification has played a role in not guilty verdicts for the Fugitive Slave Act, in Vietnam War protester trials, and notable cases including but not limited to Marion Barry, Bernard Goetz, New Jersey weedman Ed Fortune, and many others. So as a reminder, the Sixth Amendment guarantees your right to a public trial without unnecessary delay, the right to a lawyer, the right to an impartial jury, and the right to know who your accusers are and the nature of the charges and the evidence against you. And the Fifth Amendment's double jeopardy clause prohibits the appeal of an acquittal and the fact that jurists can never be punished for their verdict. So how do you nullify a verdict? You simply say not guilty. And if you exercise this right, then you join a proud tradition of jurists who have helped make laws fairer. Thanks for watching Capital Cannabis. Catch you on the flip side. Remember, not guilty, jury nullification. If the punishment doesn't fit the crime, if there is victimless crime, vote not guilty. No one should ever go to prison for a plant. Peace. Catch you on the flip side.
I just had to respect the community and stand on the side. See this car? I'm behind it. You're blocking all them. You're blocking traffic. You're blocking traffic, sir. You just made them break the law because that's a double line. That's a double line. That's a double line. You just made it break the law. That's to get around too. Hey, can y'all hear me over there? Yeah. Yeah. Back. Whoa. Get the out of here. Get the out of here.
A lot of people already know who you are, but introduce yourself anyway.
Alright. My name is Ed Fortune. I call myself the New Jersey Weed Man. That was a gimmick to get publicity in mainstream press, to be honest with you. Yes, I do have a history of selling a lot of weed. There was a time I sold a lot of weed, mostly in Camden County. At some point, DEA investigation, this, that, and the other, little time in jail. I don't really sell weed anymore. But I still advocate for the legalization of marijuana. Right here in Trenton, I came to Trenton a couple years ago, and I opened up this place called NJ Weedman's Joint. It was really about just having a social place where people who think like me, think marijuana should be legal, who partake can come. It's a restaurant and it's a sanctuary. On the sanctuary side, yes, we smoke weed. The food, the restaurant, there's no weed in the food, nothing. We have a door that kind of separates the two sides, but it's all NJ Weedman's Joint.
All right. So, man, I've heard about a fight that's been going on between you and, let's say, the forces that be. You know, but it seems that no matter what happens, you're still open.
Yeah, well, I'm one of these people. I refuse to quit. I refuse to capitulate. And I refuse to cooperate. When I say cooperate, I mean I'm not going to become a rat or a snitch. You know, I refuse to quit. I got a mission, and I've been on the same mission for years. As far as capitulating, I find it hard to quit. I can't quit, you know, with nothing. And when I opened this place, I want this place to be a success. When the local police department, for whatever reason, started teeing off on me and trying to put me out of business, it just made me more resolute in my determination to win, to be successful here. So, again, I could have capitulated at any time, and I just never did. Good.
So when they did come in here, what were the complaints?
It really was a bullshit entrapment charge, but what happened was the city of Trenton, for some reason, there is a curfew in the city. at 11 o'clock, all businesses that are located in residential zones are supposed to close. I'm not in the residential zone where I'm at. I'm right downtown. I'm in the business administration zone directly across the street from City Hall. I'm in the same zone as City Hall. So I'm not in the residential zone. So I refuse to comply with the police's orders that I had closed at 11. And, you know, that old saying about being a smart ass, you know, because I could read, because I can understand the rules and the regulations, and I looked them up. I was zoned commercially, I was zoned in a business zone, and the police officers were trying to enforce a city residential zone statute on me, so I refused to close. And once I did that, the meatheads on the police department just started clashing with me. Phony charges, they hired this rat to come in here and fabricate stories, and ultimately I got arrested for the fabrications. And then when I started defending myself, and I put the rat's name out in public, because while the police may call their rat a confidential informant, the Constitution says he's my accuser, and I have a right to face my accuser. And I wanted to know who my accuser was, what motivated him to work for the police to fabricate a case against me. So I started looking up information on it. I put stuff out. I put it on the internet. I use the internet. I don't have the power and the resources of the federal government or the state government to get information on a witness, but I kind of have a little publicity. Once I put his picture out there, put him out there, and I asked, who is this? You know, real quick, people came back with, oh, that's Zev Lapidus. Zev Lapidus. When I put it out there, you know, looking for information to defend myself, then the local government charged me, the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office indicted me and charged me with witness tampering. It wasn't witness tampering. I was setting up a defense. But anyway, I got arrested, denied bail. I sat in the Mercer County workhouse for 447 days. 447 days. I want to say that again. For 447 days, I sat in and knowing I was innocent the whole time. And then I went to trial. I represented myself, and I whooped the prosecutor's ass, exactly how I predicted.
By yourself?
Well, I had an assistant, but again, that's what the Constitution says. The Constitution doesn't say you have to have a lawyer. It says you have a right to assistance of counsel for his defense. I speak for myself. I find it hard for someone else to speak to me, so I never want a lawyer to represent me or somebody to represent me. I never want anybody to represent me. I represent myself. You know, I don't want the whole I'm a king thing. I can't, you know, it just bothers me for somebody else to actually represent me. So I always represent myself. In this case, I represented myself. I had an assistant that the court assigned to help me, and it worked out. 12 jurors said not guilty. Not guilty. What happened was the people rejected the government's persecution of me. It was clear that I didn't violate any law. While I did out the rat, so what? It's free speech. I never advocated anybody hurt him. It was part of my defense to gather information on him, and you know, I have no qualms about what I did. I mean, I still say the guy who fabricated a case on me, his name is Zev Lapidus. The hashtag for him, I call him a rat. There's nothing illegal about that. But I sat for 447 days because of that. Now, I did file a federal civil rights lawsuit way back in the beginning when the police first started harassing me about being open at 11 o'clock. So, as that case has been proceeding, and then this other case started with me getting locked up for a phony witness tampering charge, after I won it, the federal judge allowed me to put all that into it. So in my federal complaint now, not only is the original harassment about being open after 11, then the 447 days and that police persecution got added to it. And right after that, the police dropped all charges against me. And the judge found 23 of the tickets for being open after 11 to be invalidated because I could be open after 11. You know, in 2 years here in Mercer County, I had 41 tickets, summonses or indictments. I beat 38 of them, representing myself. So, I don't know what else to say other than, you know, I predicted expected when they first arrested me that I was going to whoop their legal asses, and I did. I did the same thing in Burlington County a couple years ago, beat them in 2 trials publicly. The State Attorney General's office took a butt whooping from me too at least one time. So, I'm bragging, but, you know, hey, I had power.
I think it's a lesson for a lot of people, you know, because you're showing political power. Yep.
You gotta read. You know, they use these books to put us in jail and say it's the rule of law, but the rule of law works 2 different ways as opposed to. And so many people capitulate, they take plea bargains, they don't give a fight, they allow somebody to talk for them, the public defender's office to talk for them, and they don't get to say what they gotta say. They don't get to talk to the jury. The most powerful people in the courtroom is the jurors, not the judge, not the slimy ass prosecutor. It's those 12 people. Those 12 people could be your mother, your sister, your cousin, your brother, all that. Like it comes from we the people. That's who. In order for the government to put you in a cage, the people have to endorse that. It's a trial. So I always use my trials as a way to speak to the public, speak to those 12 people, and that's why I got a record like I got. I'm always winning my cases. I mean, a couple times I absolutely was guilty, but I represented myself and I spoke to the jury, and the juror said not guilty. It's called jury nullification, and it's just I'm just as well known for talking about jury nullification and representing myself as I am for marijuana. I've been told I could call myself jury nullification man too. In fact, look up jury nullification. Google jury. Whatever. I told him what he was. He was a rat. He's a snitch. He's a liar. He's a con man. And he got me arrested. I want him to come to court. I wanted him to testify. I want the rat to honor the subpoena that I served on.
Where are we in the state of New Jersey as far as legalization of weed?
Alright.
I need to know this.
Look, legalization very soon. They're going to have legalization. All the politicians are lining up. All the money is coming in, trying to make it legal. I've been advocating for the legalization of marijuana for the last 20-something years, since the 90s, since I got busted by the DEA. And I've been advocating for the legalization of marijuana. Now, I'm not happy with this particular law here in New Jersey that they're about ready to pass. This particular law makes rich white guys are going to be the only ones allowed to sell weed. I've been to prison for weed. Plenty of people I know have been to prison for weed. And most of us are banned now. We're not going to be able to participate in this. I think if they made it legal, they should make the black market legal. But what they're doing is creating this new, what I call the new white market of these outsiders mostly. I call them cannabaggers, and they're coming to the city, they're coming to the state, paying a bunch of money, and getting all the licenses, all the regulations. Sure, the young brother walking through with one joint in their hand or something like that won't get arrested under this bill either. I'm down with that. People are not getting arrested, but people will sell weed. People still have a lot of weed. We're still going to get arrested. And the fact of the matter, under this bill, the fact of the matter is, they're creating this new white market. They're like what? We're supposed to stop selling weed and show up to this new white market and buy weed from them. Like, no, that kind of angers me. I think they should legalize it for everybody. And then there's another thing about that. This new white market they're creating will never get to supply the entire state with our marijuana needs. There's 6 medical marijuana dispensaries in the state of New Jersey. There's 30,000 people who are registered as medical marijuana patients, and they can't keep up. Those 6 can't keep up with just 30,000. There's 9 million people in this state, and I'd say 500,000 smoke weed, maybe 1 million smoke weed. If they made it legal and they made 200 dispensaries, that wouldn't be enough to supply the people with what they need. The black market is always going to be here, and I don't know. I want to be a part. I really don't want to be a part of the new white market. I would like to be made legal, I actually started up a program recently called the New Jersey Black Market Providers Association. I'm the director of it. We're putting together a board now, and we're going to unionize drug dealing, weed smoking. Weed providing, I should say. I shouldn't even say drug dealing, because I don't do drugs. I only smoke weed.
All right. Let's wrap it up there, man.
All right, let me get this started.
Right.
We have a few comments coming. You don't have to feed. Yeah, that's some more stuff. That's a good one.
Over here is the performance area of the sanctuary too. But tonight we're doing some stand-up comedy.
In this area?
Yep. So I'm gonna set up the mic and everything now. It'll be a little bit. That the young lady right there, she's the host tonight.
Hey.
So,
hello.
Turn this on.
I am go.